You are listening to a Raptors podcast, the place every week for all things Raptors. Get ready and never underestimate the heart of a champion. All right, hello and welcome to a Raptors podcast. This is officially the second last Raptors podcast episode of this season. It's flown by, and I have a nice little bit of a happy tone in my voice. The Raptors win a basketball game. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Toronto Raptors, the Toronto 2024 Raptors have won a basketball game against the Milwaukee Bucks. And look, to be honest with you, they were missing Giannis. They were losing a couple of key players, and the Raptors did look more coherent, having both of the former Knicks in, having RJ and Quickly there. So you can say what you want about the past G League team we've been watching, but this is a much more entertaining product, and we were able to take down the Bucks, who, did have Middleton, did have Lopez, did have Lillard, as well as, Gallinari, Portis, Connaughton, some other great players. The Raptors took them down, though, in a big victory, and usually there would be a remnant of the fan base with a victory like this would be saying, well, this is not good because the Grizzlies are only one game ahead of us, I guess you would say, in the capital draft, whatever, lottery. But the Grizzlies have gone on a winning streak, and all of a sudden, that's not something we need to be worrying about. And really finishing out this year, we can basically try to compete, try to develop some players here without really worrying about draft position. And it's a nice weight off the shoulders. We're going to be sixth in the draft lottery, basically, unless we win out or lose out, basically. Which we might lose out, but another team would have to go on, like the Wizards or something crazy, would have to go on a crazy win streak. We're going to be sixth. It gives us basically a 50% chance of keeping our pick, and 30%, 35% of that is moving up into the top four, which is great. I know it's a weaker draft, is what everybody's saying, but I'm taking a top four pick when I can get it because I trust Masai to take the best player available, and I'm sure he's going to be able to do so. The Raptors take down the Bucks, though. First and foremost, we're going to talk about that. At home in Milwaukee, the Raptors win, and it was a great game for RJ, for Quickly, and for Trent. Those three really combined to give us, all above 25 points. Quickly had 11 rebounds, something that the Raptors have been needing desperately, is some consistent rebounding. And for once, the Raptors out-rebound a team. Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett had 7. Akbaji had 8. I don't know where that 5 came from. Because Gary Trent had 5. Kelly Olynyk had 7. Somehow he was fourth most in the starting lineup playing center for us. But the Raptors lead a game in rebounds, and they win the basketball game. And it's just a nice breath of fresh air to beat the Milwaukee Bucks, who, they hired Doc Rivers and has been going better. But Adrian Griffin, my boy, I remember seeing him doing the halftime reports, talking to whoever was Matt and Jack maybe a little bit. And it's just nice to see the Raptors win a game and to get one on a team that has done so poorly to my boy, my friend, Adrian Griffin. And yeah, just an interesting starting lineup because you're doing it without Grady Dick, who has been one of the better players we've had. And all of a sudden, Akbaji's starting in front of him, which is a pretty interesting choice. And he only had 3 points in this one, so you're a bit confused. But he's also had the highest plus-minus of the entire team, played 35 minutes. Grady Dick did play 26. And Akbaji's he's an interesting player, and he's obviously a player that has been given a lot of rope, and a player who Darko has a lot of faith in. He had 8 rebounds in this one. Grady Dick only had 5. I don't know if that really means anything. Obviously, I think it was made pretty apparent to everybody that that's what we needed to do. It was getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. And yeah, it's even if Akbaji's not scoring, he still had a really good one. 4 turnovers, not exactly what you'd like to see, but it happens. A young player, that's going to happen. Quickly, almost had a triple-double, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, 25 points on 4 of 12 shooting, but got to the free throw line with an insane amount of times. 14 of 15 from the free throw line. Great job by him. RJ also had 11 free throws. Gary Trent, not so much. Had 7 threes, though, just draining them in from anywhere. They got in a lot of those move-in shots from sidestep threes is what he always likes to do, and raining them over the Bucks perimeter defenders. And a similar player who usually does that is Damian Lillard. He did have 4 threes, but on 12 attempts for Dame, he did have 36 points. Also got to the free throw line more than in double digits amounts. And Damian Lillard, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, missing his teammate I think in Giannis a little bit, who didn't not play in this one, hasn't been playing for a while. Chris Middleton, 21 points. And the Raptors, somehow losing the Pistons series, have won the series over the Bucks 2-1 in the regular season. A Bucks team who is 47-30 at the time of recording here. Just some wild stuff here, and it's a great win, and to get some happiness, some your feet up under you. The Raptors take it, and just really, really great stuff. We move on to some losses, unfortunately. The Raptors taking on the Timberwolves, the worst loss in Raptors. This one we lost by 48 points. Never close. I mean, we ended the first quarter. It was 23 for Minnesota, 19 for the Raptors. And then they run away with it. Raptors losing every other quarter by double-digit points. And in the case of the third and fourth, way more than double digits. And you look up and down the lineup. This one we start Garrett Temple. We start our boy, newly acquired Malik Williams on the Raptors from Louisville. Just needed any paint presence. He 5 rebounds, not really all that good. And Grady Dick, a minus 37, probably why you didn't see him play in the, at least didn't see him start in the Milwaukee game. And just up and down this lineup, Grady Dick and Quickly led the team in scoring. 7 for 17 for Quickly, 6 for 17 for Dick. 1 for 6 from 3, 2 for 7 from 3. Garrett Temple, he also had 11 shots, 3 for 11. Malik Williams, who just came in, 0 for 7. McDaniels, 6 for 15. Just nobody played well in this one. Jordan Nwora, 13 rebounds. Big ups for Jordan Nwora. And he's somebody who I will continue to praise for his abilities. I think he's a really, really good player, and I think he should be getting the same amount of opportunities that we see Akbaji getting. I know Akbaji coming after that injury, which was just a horrible fall. He landed directly on his hip, and I remember watching that and thinking to myself, oh my God, he's killed himself. Like, it just looked so horrible. And this was during the Lakers game that we're going to talk about a bit later. I'll delve into it in a couple of minutes. But just to say, he came back, and he came back well. Even though he didn't really contribute that much, Raptors didn't need him to as they cruised to a win. He didn't play against the Timberwolves, taking a little bit of a break. But we did see what Nwora could do. And sure, somebody's got to rebound the basketball. Nobody else was doing it. But still, he's the one who did. And he's the one who, brought some energy, some effort. 4 for 9. At least he was somewhat efficient. 5 or 6 from free throw line. Him and Freeman Liberty were the only ones who were efficient in this game. And both coming off of the bench. 30 minutes for Nwora, 27 for Freeman Liberty, who I still have a lot less faith in than I do Nwora. I think Nwora's shown flashes. Freeman Liberty seems to me to be a liability on defense, and sure, he's quick and crafty, but he's just, there's so many quick and crafty guards in the NBA already who can't cut it. You look at Malachi Flynn in that example, just they seem very much of the same ilk to me, and sure, Malachi Flynn dropped 50, but he's also playing on one of the worst teams, and ever since then, he scored 3-3 the next 2 games with 0 for 7 and like 1 for 12 shooting. So it's really not what you like to see, and what you not want to see is the Raptors lose the worst game in history. It's literally the worst Raptors game in history, and it was Edwards and it was Naz Reid, actually, who had 23 points in this one. I'm always a big fan of Naz Reid. He sort of, has a similar ilk to Cat, but he likes to play defense more than Cat does. He doesn't foul as much as Cat does. Naz Reid, 23 points, 7 rebounds. He's, really good. Cat didn't play in this one. Let me just give you a rough count here of how many players played for the Minnesota Timberwolves in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Basically their entire roster. I think that's 15. They've played their entire roster against the Raptors, and they still demolished them the entire time. And another Raptors associated coach in Chris Finch, who's doing a hell of a better job, at least job-wise, than we saw from Adrian Griffin. Chris Finch and the Timberwolves fighting for the first seed in the Western Conference. 53-23 are the Timberwolves, and really, really great season from them, not only from Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert fitting in a bit better this year with 15 rebounds here against the Raptors. I mean, what would you expect? And, Naz Reid as well. Jaden McDaniels is a pretty good player. Alexander Walker always. Their entire team torched us literally against today. I don't know what I'm saying today, but it was a tough one. We move on to the Lakers game, who I know many people in my life were in attendance for this one to see themselves LeBron James playing in a game. Tickets were probably still insanely expensive, even though the Raptors are one of the worst teams in the league. LeBron James, 10 for 12 in this one, puts up 23 and 9. Really, it's a LeBron James game. He's going to do that. Very, very efficient, though. Played 29 minutes in and out, beat the Raptors. What are you going to expect? This one wasn't close at all. Lakers demolished the Raptors in the first and third quarter by like 15 points a quarter. And the Raptors actually did sneakily win the second and fourth by 3 and 4 points, though not really enough. And this was the return of R.J. Barrett and Quickly into the lineup, and it was a more respectable game from the Raptors from that perspective. Quickly and Barrett both having above 20, really, just a bright spot to see them back in the rotation. But it was also D'Angelo Russell, who's had a bit of I wouldn't say resurgence, but I'd say he's playing better of late. He's had 25 points, led the team in scoring. Anthony Davis, obviously, he had 21 and 12. But D'Angelo Russell, sort of what they've been needing is this third star to be surrounded by LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And they've been thinking in the past that it could be, oh, look, we could trade for Kyrie. Or look, Austin Reeves is going to be this third guy. I don't really think he's that good. I think he's hyped up by the media because the Lakers needed a third guy to put on the posters and put on the promos, and Austin Reeves had a good playoff run, but I don't think he's that talented to come to what you can see anywhere else. I mean, I think he's probably as good as Jaime Jaquez. I think he's not anything to write home about. He had 7 points in this one, 2 for 9. Even times they're saying, well, can Rui Hachimura be this guy? When he dropped big, points games, but him, he's just not. It's the same. You find him all over the NBA. You can find Rui Hachimuras, Max Christie, Spencer Dinwiddie. Guys giving some good minutes off the bench. They're clearly an NBA team, which the Raptors aren't. And LeBron James put in his shift. He stamped his card. In and out, clocked in, clocked out, 23 points, 10 for 12, and they disposed of the Raptors pretty easily, but it was nice to see R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly back in the roster, doing what they do best, bringing at least some little bit of good vibes, trying to, just get the Raptors over the finish line for this season. regroup next year. And I think, honestly, they've done a good job of that. When they've come back, they've obviously dropped off the Bucks, like I will say. Timberwolves game we will not talk about probably ever again until it's broken in like 50 years when the Raptors lose by 50 in a game. But other than that, maybe it'll be talked more than this Lakers game, which I am about to be ending my conversation of right about now. So we move on to the final game with another Raptors-associated coach in Nick Nurse and the 76ers, who do have Joel Embiid back. He didn't play in this one. Post this game, they've had him back, Joel Embiid, and they didn't play Maxey either in this one. So the Raptors lose by 15 to a team led by Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, and Kelly Oubre Jr. Once again, they're made of NBA players, so they're going to beat the Raptors, and this is before we saw, Quickly and RJ come back. So it's a Gary Trent, Bruce Brown, and Kelly Olynyk led team with Grady Dick, who wasn't even in the rotation this year. Gary Trent barely in the rotation this year. Bruce Brown is being off the bench for many a team. Kelly Olynyk, same thing. It's just not that good. And then starting alongside a player in Freeman Liberty, who is a G League star, but he's not good enough to, he's not a good enough scorer to actually, for it to be worth for him to be on the court defensively. And you can see it for sure. And that was the starting lineup. And everybody else is worse. But you know who did have a good game? Jordan Nwora. He had 8 and 18 in this one. Once again, Nwora has a good game. It's almost like if you have to give this guy minutes, he's going to play well. He had 19, 2 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Maybe not as good of a rebounding game, but, aside from, the actual NBA players, he seems to be off the bench the pick of the bunch. And, he plays better than Grady Dick and Freeman Liberty do in this one, and I think he actually has NBA rotation quality in him. A bit of a diamond in the rough a little bit. I know I'm going pretty in-depth on a guy that I do basically every single time, but I do really believe in Jordan Nwora, and he's somebody I hope that the Raptors keep for ensuing years and build something out of him, because I do think there's something in him. And obviously it doesn't show against losing to the 76ers, but you see signs and you see him shine where Jalen McDaniels doesn't. And, you don't see Simmons, our new signee, Kobe Simmons, similar to, Malik Williams, where it's like, where did we find this guy? Like, Jesus, out of nowhere. You've got Gaye, who played for the 905, and Garrett Temple, who's been on the bench basically all year. So, got a contract for sitting on the bench. It's, you lose to a team. Kelly Oubre had a really amazing game, 6-3, 6 or 7 from the free throw line. He'll do that sometimes, and it's, his career hasn't really panned out. There was a breakout year for him, and everybody's like, oh, pay him $10 million, pay him 15, pay him 20. It just kept going up and up and up, and he just hasn't really panned out. He's sort of plateaued, even regressed a little bit. Just from a value standpoint, definitely regressed. But he does have some quality. 32 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Kyle Lowry out for a double-double to 11 and 10 assists. Really like what I'm seeing. He's still feisty. He's still got that demeanor. He's still got that defense in him. Maybe, his legs don't work as much as they do no more. And, he's got to work more to get into his spots. But he still does, and he has a little bit of quality in him, and he has the same ilk that he always had, and he has the same fight and the fire and the passion, and that's what Nick Nurse always has valued over everything, is the passion and the effort and playing the way he wants to play, and Lowry does that, and I can see him in the playoffs, with 76ers sort of riding the ship now that they've got Embiid back, winning some really tough games, going on a bit of a win streak. I can see Lowry playing a role. And I know obviously that's why they got him, but he sort of lost his role with the Heat, and it's good to see him back. And I just want to see him playing for as long as he can, or at least as long as he wants to. And maybe, just maybe, one day he'll sign that elusive contract with the Raptors to end his career. The one day we'll give him a trophy and I mean, what am I saying here? we'll give him a statue outside. Maybe it'll be called Scotiabank Arena. Maybe it'll be changed by then. But just, it's nice to see him play whenever, and it's nice to see the fans and everybody cheer him on. And it's a beautiful thing to see, and I'm happy to continue, and I'm thankful to be able to. Anyway, the Raptors' upcoming schedule to end the year, the first 5-game podcast I'm going to be doing for you guys. Sunday, they've got Washington, then the Pacers, Brooklyn, and end it. Miami, back-to-back in Miami. Raptors have 2 more home games, then the last 3 are away from home. Finish on April 14th, the day before I have I have one exam on the 15th, exam on the 16th. I guess I'm podcasting after the Miami game, which starts at 1 p.m. I'm podcasting, and then at study. It'll be study before. Catch the Miami game, podcast, study. And then my year's basically just about wrapped up. So, I'll be catching you guys after that one. And that'll be the season. I'll wrap it up, and obviously I'll do some draft stuff and off-season stuff if the Raptors like to sign anybody with the new space that they've opened up since the trade deadline. But we will see, and we'll talk about that later. Next, upcoming, is the rest of the league and their standings and how they're doing right before the playoffs. So stick around. I'll be right back in a second. All right, and I am back here now to talk about just about everything else going on in the league outside of the Raptors. And in the Eastern Conference, the only team to have clinched themselves a playoffs berth is the Boston Celtics. Everybody else is within 4 games of each other, basically. Very, very tight, just about all throughout the East, except for the Celtics, who reign dominant at the top, 61-16. I'm just going to go over where everybody else is before we see how it all shakes out in this tightly contested Eastern Conference. The only other things we are sure about is the Chicago Bulls and Atlanta Hawks playing in that 9-10 game. Both play-in bound. The Bulls 37-40, the Hawks 36-42. The other teams, it's all up for grabs. So let's go over it. The Bucks lost 3 in a row. Cavaliers lost 3 in a row, and so Bucks in second, Cavs in third, Magic in fourth, Knicks in fifth, Pacers in sixth. Every other team on a losing streak other than the Pacers, and then the Heat and 76ers also on winning streaks, just one game. The 76ers, who I just mentioned, on a 4-game winning streak, they seemed very thoroughly implanted in that 8th seed. No longer, they are just a game out of the Pacers in the 6th spot. Nobody wants to be in the play-in tournament. My prediction is that we're going to see the Heat and 76ers stay there, though, the way teams are falling, like the Knicks and the Magic, who are only 2 games back with just about a handful of games to go. It really could be any of these teams. I think the Bucks are safe. I think the Cavs are safe. I'd like to say the Magic and Knicks are safe, but it's definitely still a possibility for them. And my predictions is everything stays pat. I think the Knicks jump the Magic. I think the Magic fall down to maybe even 6th, and the Pacers jump up to 5th, and we see the Miami Heat and 76ers playing for play-in spots to get into the playoffs, and they'll be facing the Celtics or the Bucks or Cavs, basically. And, teams eliminated, obviously, the Nets, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons. In the Western Conference, 3 teams have clinched a playoff spot. None have been relegated to 100% being in the play-in. The Rockets aren't 100% in the play-in because they might, there's a good chance they fall out, and I would assume they do. But the teams that have clinched, the Nuggets, Timberwolves, Thunder, who you expect, the Clippers, right behind, probably not going to move. Mavericks and Suns in 5th and 6th. Mavericks 9-1 in their last 10. Suns 7-3. The Pelicans have fallen into 7th, lost their last 4 games. Lakers 9-1 in their last 10. Huge winning streak for them. They could find themselves in the 6th seed where they've been in the 9 and 10, the 9 spot basically the entire year, and they've rocketed up the standings here of recent, have an opportunity, rocketed basically as much as the Rockets did when they won like 9 in a row, now lost 4 in a row, down back into Earth's orbit. The Rockets are not going to make the play-in unless a huge collapse from the Golden State Warriors. But it would literally take Rockets winning out, Warriors losing out. The Warriors in the 10 seed with the Kings in the 9 spot. The Lakers jumped over the Kings. The Pelicans and Lakers in 7 and 8. I think we'll see the Lakers maybe move over the Pelicans into the 7 spot. Pelicans fall back. Once again, I think the top 6 teams are pretty good where they are. I think you see the top 6 teams in the West in the top 6 currently, even though it's very tight from the Mavericks all the way down to the Kings, basically. Maybe you see the Kings. Actually, I see the Kings hopping back up to 7, Pelicans in 8, Lakers in 9, and then Warriors and Rockets falling out, Warriors staying. And then, obviously, the Jazz, Grizzlies, Blazers, and Spurs all eliminated. So that's going to do it for a Raptors podcast, the second last one of this season. We'll be back next week to recap 5 games and see how these playoff spots do shake out. So thanks for listening. As always, you can follow me on Twitter. Do what you want to do. I'm not forcing you anything. Thanks for listening. And, I hope you guys have a great week. Only 5 more games of Raptors basketball, and then we're devoid of it. Even though it's been a tough year, it's still a great time to watch the Raptors. And it's going to be sad when it's gone, but, more off-season stuff, more content to be made. Always working, adding more. And, it's going to be a fun time. So, like I said, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys later.